we've discussed various aspects of the fuzzy systems, the rules, the representation, membership function, and so forth. FIS, or fuzzy inference system, as we sometimes call it, is the process of formulating the mapping from a given input to an output using fuzzy logic. Okay, so what I'm saying is, it provides a mapping. Then this mapping provides a basis from which decisions can be made or patterns discerned in the fuzzy logic system. So if I were to take that as a black box, the input to a fuzzy inference system, FIS, is a crisp input, okay, that goes through various steps I'm going to talk about, the 5 steps, and then produces another crisp output, right? So a crisp input going through 5 steps of fuzzy inference process and ultimately come up with a fuzzy output, right? So both ends are crisp, input and output. In between is the fuzziness and the inference process. So what are the 5 steps? You start with the crisp input and you fuzzify that, okay? We'll see what it is. And then we apply fuzzy operator on the premise or on the antecedent or the left hand side of the rule, okay? Fuzzify, apply the fuzzy operator, okay? Then implication is effectively the application of the rule, okay? So apply, so from the antecedents to the consequent, then aggregation of consequences across the rule if you have multiple ones, and then of course defuzzify. So you come up with a crisp output, okay? So 5 steps. We are going to discuss subsequently a case study for a dinner for 2 people, okay? That's a small case study, will help you do that. Okay, so what exactly are we trying to do? We are saying, all right, the two people who want to go to a restaurant, and then depending upon what kind of food they get and what kind of service they get, okay, this fuzzy system will help them decide how much tip to give, okay? How do you tip the waiter, okay? It's a very standard thing, and it can be a percentage of the total bill, say between 5 to 25% of the total bill. The system is based on 3 fuzzy rules, okay? We will discuss each one of them, rule 1, rule 2, and rule 3, and then we will apply these 3 rules and using the inference process. So what is the first step? First step is the fuzzification. So you take the crisp inputs and determine the degree to which they belong to each of the appropriate fuzzy sets via membership function. So in this case, the numerical value of the crisp value, it can range between 0 and 10. Okay, the service quality. You can say poor mean 0, and 10 could be excellent. And the output, the fuzzy degree of membership using the linguistic set of variable, will be in the range of 0 and 1. So fuzzification of the input is either through a lookup table or a fuzzification function I mentioned previously, of course built using 3 rules. And so you fuzzify the inputs. Once you are fuzzified, your next step is how to actually apply those rules, the implication. So left hand side of the rule, which ones, and then the implication of each rule. So for instance, what is the extent to which the food is delicious? And the figure will demonstrate how well the food of our hypothetical restaurant qualifies on a scale of 1 to 10, 0 to 10. Okay, and the linguistic variable here is the word delicious, the food quality. So the diners have rated the food as an 8 value. And given the graphical definition of the delicious, that corresponds to a value of 0.7 of the delicious membership function. Now we apply the fuzzy operator. Once the inputs have been fuzzified, and we know the degree to which each part of the left-hand side or the antecedent has been satisfied for each rule, we apply the fuzzy operator. Now, once the fuzzy operator is applied, we then actually aggregate them. Okay, so each rule is applied if there are more than one left hand side, remember, and or kind of thing. So and would take the minimum and the or would take the maximum if there are more than one. So fuzzification followed by the implication. So fuzzy sets and then rules applied and then they aggregated. So once again, what are those 5 steps that we carry out? Remember, at the input we have a crisp input and we want to create a crisp output. Okay, so fuzzification of input, application of the fuzzy operator in case there are more than one, and implication, the third step. Implication is the right hand side. Okay, what happens if this is the antecedent, left hand side, then this is the consequence of that. That's what we call as implication, implies. If then, remember the if then rule. So this is same as that. Then the aggregation of consequences if there are multiple rules. If there's only one rule, you go ahead. If you have multiple rules that can be applied, you aggregate them, put them together. Okay. And then once you've got a crisp value out of this, a fuzzy value out of this, you defuzzify the output. Okay. So once you have a defuzzified output, that's what you're looking for. So in our case that we will discuss, we'll start with the quality of food and the service, 2 inputs. Rules will be applied, the 3 of them. So there will be application of that, of each and or whatever. Implication, the effect of each rule, and the aggregation of the consequences across the rules. And finally, defuzzification. So these 5 steps, I hope they're clear. We will use them in subsequent videos to actually demonstrate the case study that I've mentioned, which is, you go to a restaurant and decide how much tip you want to give, right? I hope this was interesting. Keep focused. We'll come back again. Thank you very much.